take 4. Take 4 from the avocado orchard. This one will be breakfast tomorrow. It's nearly ready. Me and me mate here enjoying the fruits of this orchard. Just before I start this video, which is about light communication, I just wanted to encourage those of you who watch my videos for like 5 minutes and then your mind becomes distracted, you know, and you go off and you find something else to watch, and try to realize that that's a bad habit, right? That's a habit that needs to be overcome, because if you're truly intent on transforming your mind, filling yourself up, and you'll feel it if you watched like 3 of my videos in a row, let's say, or a couple of hours worth of this technology in a row, you would find that you would have this sense of, oh, I can't digest any more of this. I'm you know, but you could say that the same for, you know, after watching 5 minutes of it, but it's from a slightly different context. You'll know when you're full from watching a spiritual video or listening to a spiritual teacher or discourse, whatever, because your mind will literally begin to feel dense and like, there's almost a physical feeling to it. And I used to get it all the time with my teacher and his teacher before him in the very early days when I was integrating stuff. And I know that personally myself. If I do a long teaching, 3 hours or 4 hours, which is pretty rare these days, I will feel absolutely baked after giving and extending the message for that long, and I'll have to either go and have a swim in the ocean or a sleep or something like that to appease, I guess, or to help reassociate the physical level. It's kind of a big ripple. I don't really know how to talk about it in a little video like this, but I did want to talk about light communication and encourage you guys to just watch the videos. Like, put in the effort, you know, you're worth it. And but anyway, light communication. Somebody sent me a video of Sadhguru, which is a very unfortunate name for a guru. Sadhguru. Don't think I'd follow that guy for long. And Michio Kaku, you know, judgment. Michio Kaku, who's a physicist or scientist or something like that. And they were weighing in on the idea of these drones, orbs, phenomena showing up over New Jersey and now around the world, etc., etc. And a friend of mine in Ireland has actually seen one personally, who's a bit of a UFO nut with me. And for some years we poked around the rabbit hole of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, which took a more profound turn and a deeper dive once I actually had an experience of that and had a close encounter of the third kind. All the birds are eating the avos. The idea that was presented from Kaku was that perhaps an advanced race has figured out a way to digitize their consciousness and send it via a beam of light to more dense third dimensional associations to impart some sort of technology which is much like speaking in tongues, really. I mean, what's the point of trying to communicate with people in a way where they can't understand it? And Jesus says that in A Course in Miracles. You know, there's no point talking in tongues if no one can understand a thing you're saying. You know, and never underestimate the power of mind in denial. It does some pretty weird and wacky stuff. You know, and I actually went to a church once where people were talking in tongues, or what they thought was talking in tongues, which isn't actually what talking in tongues is, but you literally couldn't understand a thing they were saying. The original interpretation or meaning of talking in tongues is something that occurs, for example, when the disciples were sent to other lands, to the Greek lands and places like that, where they didn't speak the native language, and the spirit within them gave them the gift of being able to communicate in that language, talking in their tongue. The other guy, Sadhguru, had a slightly more optimistic hypothesis that, or more useful hypotheses that the human being doesn't really appreciate or understand the full scope and full spectrum of communication, the full spectrum of life, and the nature of being part of life beyond the physical parameters, which was pretty good. But at the same time, it kind of stopped there. And I was kind of hoping that either one of them, they sort of both were on the cusp, on the edge of it, but I was kind of hoping either one of them would start to talk about miracles and how communication is light. Communication is seen in light. True communication is seen in light. When I opened my mind, like that, I'm actually communicating with the entire universe, which doesn't communicate in words. Surprise, surprise. Doesn't communicate in words or symbols. It communicates as an expression of itself, like a sonar, like a radar, not a radar, a sonar, yeah, sonar, where a pulse or a beam or a radiance of light that extends out forever and ever and includes all things, and all things are within its range, I guess, or within its frequency, communicates by bringing you closer and closer into its own harmonic. All right, so God knows not of the world, God knows not of form, God knows not of the body of Dave sitting here in the orchard making a video, but God is sitting here in the orchard making a video through the avatar Dave. Right, now that might sound like blasphemy to some people, or sacrilege, something like that. Doesn't matter, I've said it now. Try and rewind that and erase it. You can't. The nature of consciousness then being a miscreative expression of a possibility or an idea of potential, which was, how would you call it, exhumed, accounted for in the atonement, in the resurrection, in Jesus's resurrection from death, being an idea shared by all conscious associations, which at the point of enlightenment has to be confronted and realize that it doesn't actually exist anymore because Jesus atoned for it. That harmonic, that frequency is what the universal expression of light is drawing you to itself and away from. Okay, so the universe is collapsing in on itself. Time is collapsing in on itself. The time is actually going backwards. The nature of that, you can read about all of that for yourself in A Course in Miracles. If I sit here to explain it, there's another hour. Just buy the book and read it for yourself. But communication is seen in light. True communication is seen in light. The whole point of communication is to learn to communicate at the highest level possible without words. There's no, like some of the last lessons in the Course in Miracles, in the very last section, it says, and now we go beyond the use for words. We simply say God is and enter into silence, something along those lines. And in that action of mind of entering into silence, like that, which is now an active part of my conscious association, it's an automatic and open link from the physical dimension to the non-physical dimension. Okay, it's like communication in me has been restored. That's what you're looking for. So in the idea then of learning to communicate, or trying to communicate with the effects of a miscreative idea showing up as symbols such as aliens or light forms or orbs or anything like that, that can only ever be, and people would consider it, I know, as an accomplishment or as an advance in our evolutionary progress to be able to communicate with advanced species, right? But it isn't. It's simply another distraction within the framework of time and space, wherein a slightly more advanced, let's say, or a slightly more evolved version of the false self or the false narrative is presented to a different version of the false narrative. It's like when a dog gets excited, when you train a dog, and the dog gets excited when it learns a new trick and it wants to do that trick all the time and make you happy. It's much like that. It's not communication. It's just something that's another trick, another thing, another occurrence within the framework of time and space. Okay, so all spiritual work is directing you to have an experience that has nothing to do with time and space, nothing to do with any kind of form association, form reality whatsoever, whether it's third dimensional, fifth dimensional, seventh dimensional, 12th dimensional, whatever. It's directing you to have an experience of your true self, which is formless. Okay, now, as a caveat to that, or as a little aside to that, I have no clue if the nature of the appearance of orbs and other things from supposedly non-terrestrial origins are coming with a better way than meditation, prayer, A Course in Miracles and Brotherhood to help facilitate us to be able to do that and accomplish that in our own minds without the necessity for years and years of meditation and study, etc. For me, it's been 26 years since my awakening. As an idea of time, and communication has been restored and it's flowing perfectly. And whilst this body still seems to last and have a use in time and space, I will use it to represent the true nature of communication, which is light. And miracles are seen in light, and light and communication are joy, or something it says in the course, you know. And certainly whenever I open my mind and have an experience of light communication, which now is so regular and every day and all day, every day, an occurrence, whereas once when it first started happening, it was like, what was that? How did I do that? How did that happen in my mind, you know? And there was light behind my eyes. There was this flashing and twinkling of lights and stuff, and things was and it was incredible. Now it's just sort of like, well, it's the same thing as anything else. There's no gap, there's no break in communication in my mind, whether I'm making a video here or it's like I'm still connected. There's this sense of connection, this sense of wholeness that goes with me everywhere I go, and the nature of God, mind creating, is completely apparent to me, even when I'm looking at ideas that are showing up for me, where I might have to go down a little rabbit hole to dig out some dark element of denial in the personal association of this avatar of Dave that I'm using to express the message. Literally, I'm not a Dave, I am spirit, I am the light, I am God, one with you as God, as Christ. We are all that. But breaking free or healing the mind from false beliefs about the limited sense of self, the small I, the little identity, takes a bit of work, and that's why we support each other and we come together to practice and study the concepts and the principles and apply the principles, etc., to help bring about a shift in consciousness that gives us a new reference point in our own mind, wherein we can start to realign all our thinking with it in order to bring about ongoing conscious shifts, so that the nature of true communication through instance, INSTANTS, instance of holiness becomes more apparent to us, instance of divinity, instance of wholeness, instance of oneness, whatever you want to call that. So just remember, the outside world, the form, the orbs, the aliens, the drones, the whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It still doesn't mean anything. All right. There's nothing wrong with going down that rabbit hole and having a look at it and examining it from all sides. Just do it with the Holy Spirit so that you're consciously aware. Ultimately, it's going to have no meaning. But if it does, like anything like that that shows up that's different and out of the blue and out of the ordinary, that's great. Look at it honestly, because it's going to give you something to look at. It's going to give you a point of reference that, although being false, you may have been unaware of before. It may even bring up fear. You know, so in every situation, in every relationship, with everything out there in the dream, there's always going to be work to do if it catches your attention and if you find yourself reacting to it. If you react to it, let yourself react to it. Like, see where it goes, see where it leads, how deep down that rabbit hole it's going to take you until it's done. If it takes you into fear, don't be afraid, go with the Holy Spirit. Right? This is a journey into fear. This is a journey of removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, and those blocks can bring up a lot of fear, trust me. In reality, there's no blocks at all. Nothing's ever happening. There's no dream. I'm not sitting here making this video. But that's the paradox. You know, you don't get by the paradox, and you don't escape the paradox with a concept. You have to experience that the actual thing isn't actually happening, and then come back here maybe and help me make videos and sound like a crazy person to other people who don't know what the hell you're talking about because they haven't yet had an experience. But here, have an avocado. And brother Sadhguru, if you're watching, you should really consider changing your name. I know that's a big thing in India to take a more spiritual name. Maybe it is. I don't know. I've got no idea. I don't want to sound judgmental about things, but it's funny. Come on, Sadhguru. It's like all right. I love you guys. Peace.